is Reddy Bhupati. I am a data center network TME. In this video, you will get a short view of HPE Simplivity interface and some of the key functionalities of HPE Simplivity data virtualization platform and how to configure the HPE Simplivity solution with Aruba CX switches. So Simplivity hyperconverges across the entire stack, not just the storage and server. In a traditional data center networks, you may see these various stack of products like data protection application, WAN optimization, backup and disaster recovery. There's so many various products in a traditional data centers. The HPE Simplivity hyperconverges the entire stack, which has a built-in data protection, built-in WAN optimization, backup, and disaster recovery. All data in the Simplivity infrastructure is deduplicated, compressed, and optimized inline from the moment it is created and maintained in the state through the entire life cycle. You can easily backup, restore, move VMs, and you don't need to worry about underlying storage infrastructure. This is how the server look like. It's a plain, simple DL380 server along with the Simplivity OmniStack accelerator card to get the benefits like high performance, optimization, and deduplication. So to demonstrate the integration with the CX, Aruba CX switches and the Simplivity functionality, here is how I have connected in my lab using CX switches. The 10 GB interface are connected to the CX switches and the ILO and management connected to a management switch. Okay, so basically the 10 GB interface is used for the Simplivity federation connectivity and also for the storage purpose. So HPE Simplivity solution requires 3 networks to form the federation cluster. One is the management, which you can see in the blue, in the green, where the ESXi host needs one IP address. Then each server will have one Omni virtual controller, which requires one management IP. And then, of course, if you want to have IDRAC or ILO support, you need one IP for that ILO too. So that is for the management purpose. And the other one is one for storage. So each Simplivity server will have one IP address on the ESXi called kernel NIC. And the other one is the Omni virtual control, is the virtual machine inside the ESXi that needs a storage IP. And then every Omni virtual controller, Simplivity virtual controller, you need one federation IP address as well. So all the servers will be communicating, all the virtual controllers are communicating through this federation network. Okay, so you need 3 networks. One is management, one is storage, one is federation. So as I was mentioning, right, so there will be total 6 addresses on per physical node, 3 given to the physical server, 3 IPs given to the OmniCube virtual controller. And how that distribution happens, you can see it here. So the 3 IP addresses are on ESXi node and 3 IPs on the Omni Cube virtual controller. So as you can see on the ESXi physical node, one for the ILO and one for the ESXi management VM kernel and one for the Omni Cube virtual controller. So these are all three IPs from the management network. And the Omni Cube virtual controller IP, one for the federation and one for the storage, and one IP from the storage for the ESXi VM kernel interface. So you need 6 IPs total per physical server. 3 goes on the virtual controller and 3 goes on the ESX, 2 goes on the ESXi, 1 goes on the ILO. So as you can see here, some of the Simplivity Federation terminology. HPE Simplivity Omni Cube. Essentially, you can call it as a ESXi server with storage that are added to vCenter data centers and clusters. HPE Simplivity Federation is one or more Omni cubes deployed together as a cluster. That's what called Simplivity Federation. Then Arbiter facilitates communication between Omni stack hosts, and the arbiter must run outside the Simplivity Federation. So this is your federation. The arbiter must run outside this federation. Generally, it is installed on a vCenter server or on a dedicated Windows server. It is recommended to run even the vCenter outside the Simplivity Federation. And then the Simplivity extension installed on a vCenter server using the vCenter extension, which you can manage the entire Simplivity Federation using that extension. And here you can see in the topology, the 10 gig NIC cards are connected to the 8320 CX switches. This is where all the virtual machines traffic and federation and storage is passing through. The management is actually connected to other pair of switches for demonstration. So on the CX, the configuration is very simple. As you can see, I have created 3 VLANs, one for management, one for storage, one for federation. And the 10 gig interfaces are configured with an MTU of 9,000. Right? Make sure to use minimum MTU for federation and storage network more than 9,000. And as you can see, this 1/1/48 interfaces are connected between the switches, and that 1/1 and 1/1/2 is connected to the servers, as you can see here. Okay, so this is the other type of CX topology where we have configured the CX switches in a VSX cluster to take an advantage of the dual control plane, active-active L2 forwarding, active-active L3 forwarding. And when using VSX, there is no requirement of configuring first hop redundancy protocols like VRRP, HSRP, and so forth. And it also helps to upgrade any of the switches without impacting the production services. That means there is no downtime to the network. The important note in the topology like this, you may want to aggregate the interfaces from the servers. For that, you may have to use, if you are using ESXi VMware, you may have to use distributed switches on the VMware which supports LACP. LACP support not available on the standard switches, right? So the VSX configuration look like this. So generally you need to configure a pair keep alive link between the two switches. So I've created a VRF, and then I have configured an IP address here as .1. On other switch, I'll be configuring .2. And then you configure those three VLANs, and you configure a VSX sync so that if there is any configuration mismatch, it will sync between those two switches. And then you configure a link aggregation between the two switches as a inter-switch link and allow those VLANs passing through those switch link, and make sure to configure the MTU for the members of this link aggregation minimum of 9,000, because you are permitting the federation and storage networks through that path. And these are the physical link aggregations going towards the server, where I have configured DL380 server 1 one port channel, server 2 is the other port channel, right? And this is the ISL interfaces, and this is my server 1 interface, this is my server 2 interface. And so this is how you can verify whether the VSX is active and operational. So one of the primary advantage of Simplivity hyperconvergence is that simplification of the management. All underlying data services are abstracted. It just takes few clicks to provision workloads, create data stores, backup, or you want to clone a VM or move a VM or restore a VM from the backup. All these we can do from a single interface using the vCenter Simplivity operation screen here. Click on any VM, just so there is no need of, in traditionally you're probably creating LUNs, shares, volumes, all that you can eliminate by using the Simplivity interface. Best thing is that, all this you can do from a familiar management interface like vCenter. There is no separate management console for various tools like, separate storage, separate optimization, all that you can eliminate just by using the Simplivity. Of course, the net effect of all these benefits basically are time saving for IT, cost savings also. Simplivity has multiple hypervisor support as well, which you can integrate with VMware vSphere or Hyper-V. Right. So I'm going to show you a live demonstration on the vCenter server. As you can see, once you have the vCenter integrated with the Simplivity, you will see a Simplivity Federation extension where you can see the topology, like you have a production cluster with 2 ESXi servers, and each ESXi server will have one OmniStack virtual machine. And then in the DR, I have one. So let me take you to the typical view of vCenter. So as you can see, I have one DC, I have one DR. Here I have 2 ESXi nodes, and this is the third ESXi node at a DR location, right? And each ESXi server, if you see the number of VMs, there will be one virtual machine. The deployment manager will spin up automatically called OmniStack virtual controller, right? Similarly, you can see here, this is the OmniStack virtual controller for that ESXi server. And this is in the DR location. Similarly, you have one OmniStack controller there, right? So going back to the federation, so as you can see in the topology, you have two locations, and you can see the total number of virtual machines and so forth. Now, under virtual machines, you can select any virtual machine and you can make Simplivity operations like you want to back up a virtual machine, clone a virtual machine, or move a virtual machine from one data center to other data center. Because you have a deduplication and compression capabilities now built into the hardware, backing up of a virtual machine, even if it is 1 TB of the size, within under 1 minute, you will be able to back up that VMs. So just for demonstration, I'm backing up this VM as backup 1, and I'm going to do it to the local data store itself. And that will take not more than a couple of seconds. As you can see, I have started the backup operation at 54th second, finished it at 57th second. Within 3 seconds, the backup is completed. And the VM is almost about 20 gig of a VM size. And you can do more operations like clone a VM or move a virtual machine from one server to other server. Right? Let's say I want to move this virtual machine from here to the other side of the server or maybe to a different data store. So I would like to move this one to a different data store. That can be done almost in no time. See how soon it's completed. So I've started at 40:04 second, completed at 40:12 second, 12 second. So which is probably about 8 seconds it took to move the virtual machine from one data store to other data store, right? So all these, the effect, one of the primary advantage of the Simplivity is basically you will see the cluster storing a logical equivalence of the data store and its performance. Go to monitor, look at the Simplivity capacity. As you can see, the logical equivalent is about 1.4 TB data, which is made up of virtual machines, local backups, and the virtual remote backups. All together, the logical storage is about 1.4 gig. By deduplication and compression, all this data, what we are seeing, an overall efficiency of 411 to 1 because of the Simplivity, right? Technically, 1.4 TB of logical data is stored only 3.5 gig of real capacity. How much storage how much saving you are getting overall is about 1.4 gig, right? So that's the um, amount of benefit you are getting to reduce the hardware needs by improving the performance, which is basically bringing the Simplivity. All right. Hope you enjoyed the session. Thanks for watching.